Welcome to another meeting of the Lorain County Commissioners, broadcast exclusively on your Lorain County Community College education station. The Lorain County Commissioners cordially invite you to see the meetings live and in person every Thursday morning. The meetings are located in the Lorain County Administration Building, located at 226 Middle Avenue in downtown Elyria. The meetings start at 9:30 a.m. on most weeks. Now, enjoy the meeting.
Elected officials, we don't fight. We can get closer. You make us all yell.
If you go up there, here they go.
I rank myself. I'm nobody.
Well, you are something.
Well,
What are you?
somebody? I used to be near traffic. I used to live down.
Be a pair of your coal.
No, over here. Over here. No, up here, guys. Up here. You guys about ready?
Wait a minute.
Okay, we all ready? Okay, welcome everybody. The sun is shining in Lorain County today. 5 years ago, our priorities on economic development were in the basement. Hey, but this year, lower level. But this year, we have invested 10 times of that of 1997. This building represents the Lorain County Commissioners' commitment to improving the quality of life for all its citizens. And now our economic priorities are the envy of Northeast Ohio. Commissioner Vancy?
Thank you. That was great, Dave. I just want to thank you for the honor of your presence here today. And, you know, when I just took office, we had a 2-man department in economic development. Today we're up to 12 and a standalone building. And I think it's just wonderful. And I want you to know, too, the carpeting that you're going to walk on in there was provided by solid waste. It's, 40% recycled material? And when you walk on that, you'll know that someone recycled in Lorain County. And hopefully we'll get more people to do that. But thank you again for being here, and it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for coming this morning. About 10 years ago, as Commissioner Vasey said, although it was never a 2-person economic development department, when I got here, it was a 1-person show, and we had a planning commission. And the idea was conceived that we ought to join those 2 departments together and form the Lorain County Community Development Department, which we did. And then we got Ron Twining, our Community Development Director, who's done a wonderful job, together with Jim Cordes, our County Administrator, and this wonderful staff that you see here. And we're doing great things for Lorain County. Thank you so much for coming this morning.
Thank you, Commissioner. We're politicians. Got lots to say. Okay, I'd like to thank a lot of you. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up today. Especially we have some elected officials here from Amherst. Our auditor, Diane Eswine, thank you for attending. Our state senator, Jeffrey Armbruster, thank you for attending. Elyria City Councilman, Paul Blevins, thank you for attending. And our Lorain County Sheriff, Sheriff Semay, thank you again for attending. And most of all, thank you all for attending here. Also, I'd like to thank the people that worked on this project. What's interesting here is this building, we purchased it within a year. We had the architect was Joseph Ferret and Chase Keichel from Joseph Ferret Associates, the architects. Steve Fox of S&M Fox Construction, restroom renovation, and ADA door opener. The Pumphrey Roofing. Tom Murray and Amy Monak of Global's Office Plus and Office Space Design. Pat McCarthy, DuPont Flooring Systems, Carpet Installation. The Refrigeration Specialist Inc. for the HVAC. And the Locks Garden Center for the plants. And the beauty of this is all this work, except for the recycled carpeting, but the labor was here, was all done with Lorain County people with Lorain County money. So that's fantastic. That's what this board's all about. And also who participated in putting this thing together, I'd like to thank Jim Cortez, our county administrator. I'd also like to thank Yvonne Newton, Pam Stevens, and Karen Davis. Also our maintenance crew. These guys don't get recognized enough. Ralph Smagala and Dave Karpinski and their whole crew of Herb, Rick, Gordon, Joe, Zen, Don, Chad, James, Mike, Brian, Michael, and Thomas. They did a lot of work here to get the job done right. Also, these are the other county people that helped us with Dan Billman and Marilyn Polisky, Ernie Smith, Karen Cleveland, Nancy Bryant, Tim Costco, Joey Opdyke, Boyd Weber, me, Howard Reynolds, and Jennifer Demick. They did a lot of work to make this thing happen today. Basically, I think it's time to cut the ribbon. Do we have our scissors? Oh, wait a minute. I got, and Marcia Dunfunk from Bromhill Township Clerk is here, too. So thank you. Okay, we're all... It's a guy thing. Ready? Are we all ready, guys? 1, 2, 3. There we go. We have lots of refreshments, videos, the people will be talking to you. Please come in and walk around and see what we have here. Thank you all again for coming. Come on in.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. Today's little statement is, our life is frittered away by detail. So simplify, simplify. That's by Henry David Thoreau. Good middle name. Madam Clerk?
There are no appointments this morning. Under resolutions, I need a motion to approve the Job and Family Services bills for payment.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Investments?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Appropriations?
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
There are no advances this morning. Requisitions?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Travel expenses?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Approving bills for payment?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary for employees within the jurisdiction of the Lorain County Commissioners.
Commissioners, at this time I'd like to request an executive session for the express purpose of talking about new hires and pending disciplinary matter as allowed under the Sunshine Law.
Is that something we can wait till next Thursday?
That's the board's prerogative.
Jeff?
Yeah,
With their schedule that we have after at 10:30, I was wondering if that'd be okay with the board. We could do it next Thursday. Is that okay with the board?
It's okay with me.
I didn't even... Okay, I didn't see this, so...
Well, that being the case, I'll move that the...
Let me see it. I don't think I saw it either.
I'll move the personnel summary sheet be approved as submitted.
Okay. Okay, they're just changing the pay range? Okay, I'll second that.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
I'd like to award contract to Kokosing Construction Company of Fredericktown, Ohio, in the amount of $111,342.42 for the resurfacing of a section of Columbia West River Road and a section of Ritt Road, both in Columbia Township. The engineer's estimate of cost is $134,077. This was the lowest and most responsive bid received, complying with specifications. The county engineer has reviewed and recommends approval, and funds are available in the Motor Vehicle Gas Tag Engineering Projects account.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to advertise for bids for rehabilitating Garfield Road Bridge number 0235. The engineer's estimate of cost, $63,000. The bids will be accepted until 2 p.m. on Tuesday, April 2nd, 2002. I'd like to publish the notice in the Chronicle Telegram and Morning Journal on March 11th and 18th, 2002.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
I'd like to issue a notice to proceed letter to Gene Resar Incorporated from Elyria, Ohio, for the Lorain County Administration Buildings Restroom Facilities Repair Project, effective March 25th, 2002. This contract was awarded by resolution number 02-153, adopted February 21st, 2002.
So
Do
moved.
we have the cost on this? Jim, do you have the cost?
On the restroom repairs? We had a cost in the last resolutions we had.
It was about $111,000.
Right. I was going to say $111,000.
It was under the estimate.
Right. This is a notice to proceed. We've already awarded the contract and to them. This just means their documents are all in line and everything that we need has been given to us.
Okay.
Thank you,
I
Commissioner.
just didn't remember the cost. Thank you. Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
And to approve and enter into contract between the Department of Job and Family Services and Horizon Activity Center in Avon Lake, Ohio for daycare services, effective retroactive to February 4th, 2002 through July 31st, 2002, and authorize the President to execute on behalf of the Board.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
I have to advertise for bids for the replacement of Parsons Road Bridge number 0782 in Carlisle Township. The engineer's estimate of cost, $264,346. This project will be financed with 89% Ohio Public Works Commission funds from previous project cost underrun and 11% motor vehicle gas tax funds. Bids will be accepted until 2 p.m. on Tuesday, April 9th, 2002. I'd like to publish the notice in the Chronicle Telegram and Morning Journal on March 26th and April 2nd, 2002.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize the appointment of Denzel St. Clair as the county's APR inspector for 2002. Compensation is established at $9.60 per hour with mileage reimbursement of 30 cents per mile. Funds have been appropriated in the general fund in the amount of $3,400 for fiscal year 2002, and this will cover both APR inspectors. No additional funds are being appropriated. This will now give the county 2 inspectors to obtain better inspection coverage.
Also moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
To authorize the appointment of David Ignacy, Captain for the Elyria Fire Department, and Randy Castle, Captain for the Elyria Township Fire Department, as members on the Local Emergency Planning Committee for the 2001-2003 term.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd I'd like to award contract to Bay Mechanical and Electrical Corporation of Lorain, Ohio, in the amount of $106,300 for the Cresthaven Wastewater Treatment Plant project for contract number 3, which is general and electrical. The engineer's estimate of cost was $97,100, and the bid is within the 10% limit. The county engineer and K.E. McCartney and Associates have reviewed and recommend approval. This award is contingent upon the Ohio Public Works Commission's approval request to proceed.
Mr. Chairman, it looks like Brian Baker wants to address this issue.
Yeah, we got this.
I have a question on this contract here. Under the revised code 153.5, you have to bid out the electrical, general, mechanical separate, anything over $5,000. Before we act on this, I think I asked Mr. Cordes about 2 weeks ago if somebody could check on this before you award this contract. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Jack's here.
I had understood that somebody from the engineer's office would be here this morning.
Jack is here.
Jack,
But
yes.
I'm not sure if Jack, you're here to address this issue?
Well, I asked, why don't we can we table this for
Sure we
next
can.
week?
Absolutely.
I prefer to do that.
And also, would you find out how this is going to be funded?
Well, this will be funded from the sewer funds. So there's no problem with that. We're not funding this. But Brian did ask me that question, and we had a couple things on the agenda. I understood somebody from the engineer's office would be here to answer some questions. So we may have had some communications issues.
Do we have enough in the sewer fund to fund this?
Yes, we do.
Didn't realize it was that high.
Well, that's why I prefer to wait.
Okay, let's put it on for next week.
Could you get back with Brian?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Okay, we need to approve the following for the Lorain County Solid Waste Management District. The first one will be for Saturday, April 27th, 2002, as Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day in Lorain County. The H.E. Stubbard collection will be held at the Lorain County Community College and the Lorain County Joint Vocational School from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Heritage Environmental will be the contractor for this collection. And to award contract to BFI for hauling costs for this year's Pride Day event to be held on Saturday, May 18th, 2002. $14,000 has been allocated for hauling in the 2002 Recycle Ohio grant. Last year's hauling costs totaled $20,391. The district will pay the balance of $6,500 for a not-to-exceed total hauling cost of $20,500. This was the lowest and most responsive bid received complying with specifications.
I would like to move for approval, and I do have a question. I just wanted, for clarity's sake, we've also received, after this agenda has been prepared, a request to establish Tire Collection Day on May 18th, which is Pride Day too. And for a number of years, I've suggested that the Solid Waste Department coordinate this day, and they have. So I just, for the viewing public or anybody who's interested, that Tire Collection Day, if the board approves this next week, will be on the same day as Pride Day. I just wanted to state that, and also move for approval of item number 18 as listed here.
Do you think that that would be, that people would really bring the tires and their waste? I mean, some of those things that they bring might be pretty big. They would have to make several trips.
Oh,
And I don't
when
know
you're
if people would be willing to do that.
Oh, when you're cleaning, you want to get rid of it all. I mean, that's my idea.
I mean, I understand there's sofas and some large furniture that might be brought on Pride Day. I don't know, it's just my thought that maybe 2 days would be better.
Well, for the past, how many years, Dan, have we had it on the same day?
Have we?
Oh, yes.
The Pride Day and the Tire Collection
Yes.
Day?
It's always been on Friday.
Tire Collection Day has?
For the last several years. It didn't used to be way back when, but finally we got together. I thought of the coordinated effort, probably before your time, and put it on the same day.
I remember attending some of the places where they had the collections, and I don't remember them being together. But then it might have been before they changed it.
Do you want to add tire on this too, or no?
It's,
Is that what you were saying?
Next week.
I think he wants a special resolution.
Oh, you want a special resolution for that? Oh, okay. Okay, so I'll second.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
as long as it's working, aye.
I'd like to schedule the final public hearing for cleaning of the Straw Hig Ditch to be held Thursday, April 25th, 2002 at 10:30 a.m. The City of Elyria has petitioned the county to perform this work. At a previous hearing, the county engineer was authorized to extend the ditch survey north about 1,900 feet north of State Route 113 and work on possible detention sites south of Lowell Street. The engineer has now completed that survey work but has not been able to locate any sites for detention. The City of Elyria has indicated that they will require additional detention on any new areas that develop that drain into this ditch. The county engineer recommends cleaning the ditch, replacing or lowering the culvert under Murray Ridge Road, and installing a head wall on the south side of the brick sewer under Lowell Street. Estimated cost of this work will be $186,000. This final hearing will determine if there is enough interest among the property owners to proceed. I'd like to publish the notice of this hearing in the Chronicle Telegram on March 19, 2002, and notices will be sent to property owners on Monday, March 25, 2002.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize the payment of $60,179.35 as local match to the Senior Citizens T federal funds for the salary and benefits for the Director, Patricia Littleton, for the calendar year 2002.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize reimbursement payment to Huntington Township from the Community Development Block Grant Fiscal Year 99 funds in the amount of $14,579 for expenses associated with the removal of an architectural barrier project. This project was a Fiscal Year 99 CDBG formula grant for the improvement to the Huntington Township Hall. The State of Ohio Department of Development has approved this requested amendment.
So moved.
No second?
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
It authorizes the appointment of Jeff Fote as member on the Fair Housing Board for a 2-year term, effective March 14, 2002, expiring March 13, 2004, replacing Bob Sexton, who was resigned.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
I'd like to approve and enter into following contracts between the Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Children and Families Council. The first one will be a contract amendment for the Help Me Grow Initiative and Music Therapy Enrichment Center, Incorporated, for the period retroactive to July 1, 2001 through June 30, 2002, a TANF and GRF funding, and October 1, 2001 through September 30, 2002 for Part C. The amended contract shall not exceed $14,400. Funds allocated from the following sources: from TANF, $3,116, the GRF funding, $2,934, and Part C, $8,350. We'd authorize the President to execute on behalf of the Board. And for the Lorain County Board of Mental Retardation and Developmental Disabilities, an authorized payment for the delivery of early intervention services for the Help Me Grow initiative. The amount of this contract shall not exceed $40,000. Funds are from the Ohio Department of Health, Bureau of Early Intervention Services. Contract is valid for the period March 1st, 2002 to September 30th, 2002. We also need to authorize the President to execute on behalf of the Board.
Also move.
I'll second, but I've also asked Juan to explain the music therapy. It's, I guess, a little different form of therapy for autistic children, and I thought it was pretty interesting.
Good morning, Commissioners. Juan Molina Crespo, Director of the Lorain County Children and Families Council. We are amending the contract that we currently have with Music Therapy Incorporated. Music Therapy is an organization that's located in Westlake, and what they do is provide in-home visits to children that have not, children between the ages of 0 and 3 that have not responded to sort of the traditional forms of intervention and service. Music therapy assists with the focusing, verbal expression, and body language, and also emotional types of responses that we want to see early on in the development of a child. They provide, briefly I could just list some of the things that they focus in on. Behavioral and social, that is, are they making eye contact? Does the child make eye contact when it's spoken to? Language and communication, is a child crying? And does the cry vary in pitch and length and volume depending on the needs of the infant? In terms of academic intervention, does it watch the speakers? Is it looking at the speaker when it's being spoken to? We also try to intervene with respect to the development of the motor skills. That is to say, does the child turn its head when it hears a noise from behind him or her? So these types of developmental milestones are monitored by music therapy, and they use various kinds of music, classical, violin, to elicit these kinds of responses. These are children that currently in the Help Me Grow initiative, we have 33 children. Earlier this morning, I told Commissioner Vassy it was 40. I checked the numbers. It's actually 33 children since October 1 through December 31st that have been referred by the service providers in the Help Me Grow initiative for this kind of intervention and service.
Thanks, Juan.
Any other questions, discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Comments, report, Mr. Cordez, County Administrator?
I have hopefully two brief issues this morning. One is the aerial photography contract proposal that was on the agenda for the auditor last week that was held. It wasn't put back on the agenda because we weren't sure we were going to have somebody come to explain it, but I understand that Marty Rowe is here. Marty, would you come up? I'm going to pass this back to the board. The paperwork's here. And there was also some questions on other proposals that were solicited, and there's a spreadsheet there detailing those proposals and the cost. And I think Marty's going to give us an explanation of the program while you take a look at that. Welcome.
Morning. I'm Marty Rowe. I'm a GIS technician for the county auditor. Would you like me to, give you an overview of the project or answer your questions?
Mr. Chairman, can you just briefly tell us what the project is?
The project, what we aim to do with this project is to do a flyover of Lorain County and update our aerial photography that was last taken in 1999. As you know, there's quite a bit of development going on within the county, and the changes that have taken place are pretty dramatic in some areas of the county, and we'd like to update all of the photography. The photography and the control for it, which is outlined in the contract as a separate item for GPS control surveys. What that is the aerial photography will be used as a base for our GIS mapping system, our computer mapping, in order to keep it so that the aerial photography and the maps mesh exactly.
What's the amount they're requesting today?
I believe the one contract is for 200.
$9,000.
I have 209, 150, and 45,190.
Marty,
There are
could you explain
This is
the 50 monument program a little bit?
Right. The 50 monuments are GPS monuments, global positioning systems. They use satellite coordinates, and it's basically a surveying monument that we use when we fly aerial photography. As the plane flies over, it ties into, we tie into these surveying monuments to make sure that the surveying that the plane takes matches what we have on the ground and matches our map in terms of our coordinate system.
So you use those for triangulation?
Right. Those are used for triangulation purposes. Right now we have 158 monuments that are set and documented throughout the county, and we'd like to densify that by adding 50 points per year.
So I guess for simplicity's sake, we can actually, most people would refer to them as like reference points, right?
Basically, yes. They're just reference points. But they're reference points that are marked with a satellite coordinate so that any surveyor in the future that wanted to go out and survey an area, they can tie into that point with the GPS coordinate, with the satellite coordinate. It's something that's gaining popularity in the surveying community, using GPS in their surveying methods.
So you're saying that this was done 3 years ago?
The aerial photography was last done 3 years ago, correct.
And they didn't use the monument system then, or did they?
Yes.
And how many did they use then?
For the flight, they require about 40 monuments.
Okay. And you're saying we're going to need 150 in all soon, or you're saying that we're going to have to do this again?
No. What we do is we're proposing to continue to add monuments to the the network to give for future flights. It'll give us more freedom to choose our points. And for the surveying community in the future, as GPS surveying becomes more and more prevalent throughout the county, it'll give the surveying community more control points, reference points to tie into to do their surveys.
Okay.
Has this been budgeted for, John?
This money would come out of the real estate assessment fund, which is a special revenue fund, not the general fund, but a special revenue fund.
And what was the total again?
$399,310. There are two purchase orders. One is for the year 2002 monumentation program for $45,190, and the other is for the digital orthophotography update at $209,150.
These are also the photographs that Auditor Stewart makes available on CDs and is available. Some of them are also available on the website, correct? This is an enhancement of the access to that information?
They're not currently available on the website. We have them available on CD through our office, and we make those available to the public and to any county agencies, state, federal agencies that may need them.
And I think Tom's here. You guys use that for EMA, and I think 911 is tied in, and I see Mr. Twining waving over here. He's tied in. So there's a lot of good cross use of the data that you obtain by various departments in the county.
So what are we voting on? Are we voting on the optionals years 2, 3, and 4 also?
Well, if
Or are we
you
just voting on today's?
it'll come back to you, the fund in the optional years.
Okay.
But I think that what's being laid out there is a bit of a long-range plan that you may be looking at in the future. But right now, you're reading extra fund these years currently in hand.
And I'll just piggyback on that. My question last week was, in fact, had the auditor solicited quotes on this, and apparently they had solicited extensive quotes, because this is the printout that deals with all the different things. So that answers my question from last week, and thank you for coming to outline the program this morning. Based on the information presented today, I will move for approval of the two requisitions. The numbers from last week were 422-02 in the amount of $209,150, and 420-02 in the amount of $45,190.
Why weren't these put on the agenda? Why is it coming up under?
They were on purchase orders in board business last week, and they were held. And we were having some discussion to obtain some materials, and we weren't able to get them put back in before the agenda was closed out. And in discussions with the auditor's office, they really need to move on this issue before the trees foliate, so they can get the photos taken. They made somebody available to come up and explain today, and I felt compelled to bring it up from the floor so we could move it rather than waiting another week.
Right, because I already received like 4 drafts of the agenda, and I'm wondering why there wasn't time to put this on the agenda rather than bring it up from the floor and catch us by surprise.
It was in board business last week. I only got the word this morning that somebody would be available to discuss this program with the board this morning, Commissioner.
I'll second the motion.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye, with a statement that maybe the auditor's office should come up and explain more often. We won't have this issue in the future. Nothing against you, sir. But I think maybe this will stop any last-minute issues that Commissioner Vacy just talked about. So I think maybe if we could get the auditor's office working with the administrator to come up and explain some of these issues, we won't have to wait as long.
Well, before the last minute, anyway.
So, no, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
I agree with you.
Anything else, Mr. Cordes?
Yes, sir. As you're aware, there was a devastating fire on the west side of the city of Lorain, and it's already been covered by one of the newspapers. With that said, we're able to possibly petition for some relief for those affected citizens for Lorain County. I'm going to pass this to the President of the Board and ask that he read this, and then I'm going to request a resolution on this proclamation from the Board to declare a disaster zone in the County of Lorain so that we can access some supplemental financial assistance from the State Disaster Relief Program. I also have a letter here for the Board's signature for all three commissioners, to Mr. Shipley requesting that aid. That'll have to go along with the proclamation, and Mr. Kelley's here to explain further should you need additional information.
Okay, this is an emergency proclamation, I'm having trouble today, for Lorain County, Ohio, March 14, 2002. The authority, whereas the city of Lorain experienced a devastating residential fire on March 9, 2002, the 101-unit Fairway Manor apartment complex was completely destroyed by fire, and on March 11, 2002, emergency demolition of the charred remains was ordered. Nearly 275 residents and their families have lost everything. This tragedy has caused losses that far exceed the ability of the residents to overcome and for the city of Lorain to provide assistance. Now, therefore, we, the Lorain County Board of Commissioners, declare that a state of emergency exists in the county and that we hereby invoke and declare those portions of the Ohio Revised Code which are applicable to the conditions and have caused the issuance of this proclamation to be in full force and effect in the county for the exercise of all necessary emergency authority for the people of Lorain County. Reference is hereby made to all appropriate laws, statute, ordinance, and resolutions, in particular to the section of 5502 of the Ohio Revised Code. All public offices and employees of Lorain County are hereby directed to exercise the utmost diligence in the discharge of duties required for the duration of the emergency and in the execution of emergency laws, regulations, and directives, state and local. All citizens are called upon and directed to comply with the necessary emergency measures, to cooperate with public officials and emergency management forces in executing emergency operation plans, and to obey and comply with the lawful directions of properly identified officers. All operating forces will direct their communications and requests for assistance and operations to the Emergency Operations Center. It is witnessed there whereof we have hereunto set our hand this 14th day of March 2002. Very good.
You're still moving?
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyer?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Would you like to have Mr. Kelley speak and make any comments or no? I mean, oh man, I screwed up my signatures.
I'll just take a couple seconds here to explain the program. A few years back, the only backfall we had if there was a disaster in the county was requesting a presidential declaration. The state of Ohio realized that there was a void between the county and the federal level, that if a disaster didn't meet federal criteria, that basically we're have to fend for ourselves. The State Individual Assistance Grant Program was developed. What this program allows is that for disaster-related serious unmet needs to families and individuals that would have uninsured essential private property losses or damages. Looking back over our files that I've been able to find, 11 years I've been there, this is the largest single impact on personal property that the county's had, I believe, since the 1920 tornadoes. We think of widespread swaths of damage when we have tornadoes or floods or things like that, but although this is just a geographical spot, the impact on persons has been great. I spoke to the Ohio EMA on Tuesday morning. We were talking about some unrelated issues, and the discussion of the fire came up, and I said, would this state individual grant assistance program be a possibility? And I explained the problem that only, I believe, 15% of the families involved in this disaster had renter's insurance. The Red Cross has been strapped, and we'd like to be able to help these families a little bit more. The only requirement is through the board to initiate the process. It's not cut in stone. The state of Ohio is ready to come up here as soon as they receive the proclamation, which will probably be tomorrow afternoon. We have a location for them to set up their shop to be able to interview some of these people, and hopefully we'll be able to get some of this assistance money into them.
Where would that be?
We're talking, there's a church in between Lorain Community Hospital, Community Health Partners, and the fire scene. Yeah. And the pastor, Reverend Smucker, has offered to the church to use.
Right there in Colby?
Right.
Okay. And so how would, I mean, How would people be able to find out about this? Because most of the problem is people just getting the information.
Luckily, the Red Cross, when they process everybody in the building, has contact numbers for where everybody is staying at. So our office already has that list, and we're ready to go as soon as we receive the proclamation. I'll go back and start the phone call.
So once we get this information, are your office is going to contact all these people?
Right.
Okay.
We'll do it with the Red Cross and the people from the state. I believe they're going to have a team of 4 or 5, a strike team that comes up and takes a look initially, and they'll be processing the families. I don't expect it to take more than 3 or 4 or 5 days.
Okay, but who's going to own responsibility of contacting each and every one of those? Is it your department or is it Red Cross?
We'll start the initial contacts, but the state of Ohio is the master contact.
So they're going to be the ones owning the project when it comes to contacting the families.
Exactly.
Because the last thing I want to hear is a couple of families that never got contacted.
We'll make sure. If I have to drive out and talk to them, I'll do it.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure that, so you'll own that part of it to make sure
Right.
that the state comes, that you'll see to it that everyone's contacted.
Yes, I will.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Good job.
Any other questions?
We're not sure whether they will offer assistance.
It's not cut in stone, but I feel pretty good that the fact that the state's ready to come up here, that's an initial step right in the right direction, obviously. It seems that we meet the criteria that's in the listings, but the state has to come in and take a look, and that's what we're just waiting for. But I do feel good that somebody's ready to come up and ready to go.
Okay. Thanks, Tom.
I want to thank the board for those citizens that were affected for taking this action. I'd also like to commend Mr. Kelley for being on top of this issue and staying aware of what the regulations and how they affect our citizens. It's nice to bring some relief to our people. I have no further items this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez.
Okay, Assistant County Prosecutor, Mr. Ace.
I have no report this morning.
Roll on that?
I did.
You did? Yeah. Okay, I'm sleeping now. Sorry.
Mr. Ace. Commissioners report.
Commissioner Massey?
Yeah, just as a point of information, House Bill 500, the Internet photos, it was sponsored by Representative Manning, requires that state and county offices, or requires the state and county offices to send a notice to property owners that permits them to opt out of publication. In other words, we had all these problems with the photographs going on the Internet, or property photographs. Well, he's got a bill in, and before the offices publish photographs of owners' homes or businesses on the Internet, and the bill also prescribes a form for the notification. That, in other words, if this bill goes through, that the auditor's office or the state offices that would like to publicize people's property or display it on the Internet, they have to notify the people and give the people the opportunity to opt out. So I think that's it's badly needed, and if we can send our support for that bill, I would be happy to.
Yeah, in fact, I'd love to do that. I think the way the bill, though, was read was, right now, the way it's set out, you can't opt out on it.
You can.
But the way the bill is going to be read, hopefully, if it passes, is that you should have to be able to opt in. You shouldn't have to work at trying to get out. And so I think that's what Rep. Manning was trying to do. He received over 2,000 calls once this became public. So I think that's the way the bill is going to be headed. So, because right now we have that right to opt out, but that's because we brought Mr. Stewart here and he graciously accepted that. So.
Well, I think there will be a lot of Lorain County residents supporting that bill.
I agree.
And then, Ron, this is just a question.
Do you want to do a letter of support on that? Or, I mean, I don't have a problem supporting that. I mean,
I would love to send a letter of support.
Should we want to write it up and do it next week and see how it looks like? Why don't we do that?
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Cortez, could you see?
Could I see what, Commissioner?
To make sure that we get a letter of support for this bill and see how we should work.
Are you asking me to draft a letter for the board's signature?
Yes, so that we could all three agree on the way.
I can certainly do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry
Okay, and
about
Ron, I picked up a piece of information. The USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, has money for rural businesses and economic development activities, and the grants are up to $50,000 and more. Are we exploring those?
Yes, Commissioner, we are looking into that. Kathy Page is the one that's investigating that. We just learned of
and I can't remember the number, 269 I think is the number, but that was through the Department of Transportation for rural development, where they would fund highways in rural parts of Lorain County or any rural part of the state. We're investigating that as well.
Good, thank you.
Sure.
And Yvonne, this is for you.
Okay.
We've had problems in the past having to approve purchases after the purchase has been received or the service has been received. And I found that we had this again, I believe it was last week, with juvenile and computer training. They're not really aware of the procedures, the purchasing procedures. I'm wondering if we can have, like for new hires or maybe even some of the older employees that, since we change things so often in the purchasing and with the auditor, maybe update people on the method of purchasing so that this doesn't happen in the future, or at least we can slow it down.
Okay, let me address your first question. The commissioners passed a resolution for people to shop for $750 and under. So they're using that.
Well, I'm not talking about that right now. I'll bring that up at another time. The one I'm talking about now is a $2,000 issue.
Okay.
And the training, they've already received the training, and it hasn't been approved yet. And this has happened in the past where people will receive a service or equipment or whatever, and then bring it to our attention, and we approve it after the fact. But I'm thinking that this is happening because people are not familiar with the procedures, purchasing procedures. And I generally find this with new hires.
Okay. They have been trained. Anytime there is a new person in a department that is taking care of the travel or the requisitions, the first thing we do is tell them they can come up. We give them a purchasing manual that we have made up ourselves, the points that they should follow, the travel or what they should follow. So we do that with those employees that we know that are new hires, and they're taking care of that.
Is this throughout the county, every department?
Right, every department that has, that comes through the commissioner's office, and that person is new, not the individual that's new, but say that person that's been hired is taking care of the initial travel requests that their people put in or their requisitions that they put in. That's the person that we take and we sit them down and we go through the Oracle system and we go through what the commissioners expect from them and what we will approve and what we will not approve. But
and the time that the information should be received?
Right. But still going back to piggyback, and that's what they're doing, to be honest with you, Commissioner Vasey. They're piggybacking off of that $750, and that's the way that they're doing it. The only thing that I suggest on that $750 is that we need to spell out what they can buy off that $750 and under. If you want them to just buy supplies, then that's the only thing that they can do is buy supplies that's $750 and under. But that's what they're doing. They're piggybacking off the resolution that they can spend $750 and under.
Well, the $750 is another issue, but I found too, like if they want to buy chairs or furniture, all right, we'll buy one today under $750, another one next week under $750, then it winds up much more than the $750, and that can really blow our budget.
Right.
But that was not the question that I had right now.
But yeah, they're being trained.
The person from Juvenile came up and spoke with me this morning and was unfamiliar with the procedures. And I'm thinking, I've heard this before. Somehow if we could send a letter to the departments and suggest that if there are any people in their department that are purchasing, that maybe we could set up a class for them and assist them in any way we can, or maybe just some, summarize step by step how the procedures are expected to be handled.
Now, I'm not sure who's the person in domestic relations, but the only person that we've ever dealt with in domestic relations that we thought that took care of domestic relations was Michelle. She's on the third floor. So I'm not sure. And besides, they type up their own their recap sheet, so we don't know what's on there until they give it to us, and it goes to the auditor's office first. So I'm not sure who that person is, but anybody that comes new and they want to know the purchasing procedures, we take them and we set up a side to them, and we sit them down. We give them, information and documentation that they can take back and they can, look it over and so forth and get the information to do it right. So I'm not sure who domestic relations that person is. They may have a couple people that's doing it. I'm not sure. who they have. But
Well, I would
it would be-
appreciate-
I would look into it and see who that person is.
Yeah, I would appreciate it if you'd give it some thought and,
Okay.
and maybe give us some suggestions
Okay.
on how we can better assist the
Okay,
department.
because we did, I think it was early part of last year, we held a class here for all the people that were doing, that took care of their people, and we had a good response to it. I mean, the room was full, so, for this, and we handed out handouts and so forth. But I'll be more than happy to do it again.
Maybe to do this periodically because of the changes.
Okay, that's no problem.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Blair?
I'd just like to, the board is going to be asked or has already signed a proclamation that's going to be delivered tonight at Brookside High School for their Japan/USA Hands Across the Ocean venture. They're going to have several exchange students introduced tonight at Brookside High School who will be spending a period of time here, and we want to honor those students. So we're going to be presenting proclamations tonight to them. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you. That's
Thank
it.
you. At 10:30 today, we'll be having a ribbon cutting across the street at the Community Development building. Everyone here is welcome. It is, well, it's 10:15, so we have 15 minutes to go there, so I guess we can go to public comment. I have nothing else to say.
Oh, we have some more
Wait,
business.
do we do? Did I miss something?
Old business.
Next page.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm trying to...
Under old business, had authorized the appointment of Frank DiTilio, Lorain County Chamber of Commerce, and alternate Brian Bonham, OSU Extension Agent, Economic Development, to the NOAC TAC pursuant to the new Code of Regulations for the year 2002. And Rebecca Gray will be from Lorain County Community Alliance to be the alternate for the Friday, March 15, 2002 meeting.
Mr. Chairman, this item appeared last week, and Commissioner Basie and I had different suggestions of people to serve in this capacity, so I asked that it be included on the agenda again. Since that time, I have spoken to Frank DiTilio, and he will accept this position on behalf of the county if we so choose to give it to him. I was unable to contact Brian Bonham because he is on vacation this week. So since the meeting is tomorrow, I also asked the clerk to insert the name of Rebecca Gray, who would serve as an alternate for tomorrow's meeting only if the board so chooses. The Code of Regulations that was put together, an update at NOAC after about a year plus working on it at meetings, indicated that the Transportation Advisory Committee should be expanded to include private sector members, and this was predominantly done because the Greater Cleveland Growth Association had asked for a voting seat on NOAC's full governing board, and the members of the Code Committee did not want to grant them a seat on the governing board because it's set at 38, and they within the last 2 years gave a voting seat to the Ohio Department of Transportation, and they're concerned about the size of the board. So as an alternate, they suggested that the Transportation Advisory Committee be reconstructed, and each of the counties through their boards of commissioners would submit a name to the president of NOACA to be appointed to this Transportation Advisory Committee. Commissioner Basie had a very good suggestion about the transportation aspect of it at last week's meeting, but it's my understanding that this committee needs to deal with issues in addition to transportation of an economic development nature. And since we do contract with the chamber for these things, and it is to be a private group, that was why I made the suggestion. As a follow-up, last Friday, the governing board did meet, and the president appointed the 11 members of the TAC committee that he is allowed to appoint. The TAC committee is also a 38-member person committee, and Lorain County, by virtue of the Code of Regulations, Ron Twining, our Community Development Director, is already a member. Ken Carney, our engineer, is a member, and Debbie Moore, Lorain County Transit General Manager, is a member. The additional seats from Lorain County, as appointed by the President last week, will be myself, the Mayor of the City of Elyria, and the Mayor of the City of Lorain. So I'm asking that we consider this or make an appointment so that we can have a full complement at tomorrow's TAC meeting.
And my nomination was Bob Fleckenstein, who is the acting director of Neighborhood House, and I felt that this person would bring a different aspect to the committee and would know the clients. He would be able to address clients' needs and constituents' needs for transportation. So I thought with all the other people that are on the committee that his experience would assist and be valuable.
Had I known, I would have got my guy.
Well, I thought they're all our guys.
I know.
It's just that we're, you know.
That would have solved the issue.
I'm a uniter. Come on. This is bad. Okay, can we, let me ask you this. Can we just do this for a year since the meeting's tomorrow? I mean, can I just do this so that we can review it next year?
Good suggestion.
Just
a
and
good
then-
compromise.
Just so that we can...
Yeah, but there are so many people sitting on the committee now that can bring the views, the economic views, to the table. But I'm thinking we need some. You want a private sector.
Right, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
And this is a person that would really represent the private sector, that uses the transportation and the transit.
I will say this, Commissioner Vasey, there are other opportunities to serve, and I was told this by the director and then the president when I discussed this issue with them of NOACA, that in addition to this TAC committee, there's also, which has been created in the last 2 years, it's called the RTIS, which is a subcommittee of TAC. So that this isn't the only opportunity that anybody would have to serve on NOACA's board if we would so choose to have appointments to other committees. So it's not that they're, don't want to say that this isn't a prized appointment, but what it is there's a lot of work involved, and there's a commitment of time too. So there's enough work to go around for everybody, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, when I read the information, it had a lot to do with transit, with the transit system, and RTA is requesting, didn't they request an appointment or something? Is that what I heard you say? It was RTA, or who was it?
The Greater Cleveland Growth Association originally had requested a seat on NOACA's full board.
But does RTA have representative on there?
Yes, by the Code of Regulations, the RTA General Manager is a member of the governing board. And the RTA General Manager is also serving as the chairperson of this TAC committee for this year.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Since there's not much time, and Rebecca says she'll go tomorrow, how do I make sure this can come back up next year so I can look at it again?
Make the appointments for 1 year.
Can we do that? Just 1 year, and then we can review it and see what... Just this one seat, right? I don't have to do anything with Ron Twining or Ken Carney?
No, they're established by the code, and we've already accepted the code.
I'll be fine with 1 year, and it gives us, then we can discuss it next year, since we're 24 hours away from having the meeting. I'm sorry I didn't have anybody myself to bring to the table on this one.
So are you making a motion?
As long as it adds 1 year in there.
That's fine. I'll second.
More discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Nay, I believe we have 3 people representing Lorain County with views towards economic development, and I strongly feel we need a real private sector individual on this committee that represents the needs of the constituents and the clients that are going to use the transit system, or that need the transit system. And I believe that person would bring some real value to the committee.
Okay. Any other old business? New business?
I have none.
I have none.
I just have notation that the Commissioners will approve the child care provider payments for the month of February at 9:30 a.m. on Tuesday, March 19th. Board
I
correspondence?
move the reading be waived.
Second?
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Public comment.
Want to have public comment? Well, we have 3 minutes on here now.
He's taking care of us.
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
My name is Robert Kish. I live in Elyria. I've got something from Mr. Twining that should be possibly help for economic development. Maybe there's some small businesses there that might be interested in this area. Mr. Kelley touched on what you touched upon, and it's basically you can have a place deteriorate rapidly by fire, or you can have it deteriorate slowly by rot. A tree is burned up in either one. One is overnight, it brings attention. The deterioration of our area, I think, is caused by narrow interest. I think if the county, the cities could work together, I think Elyria especially could develop an area that would reach from the city out to Midway Mall and possibly into Lorain, and we would have a community that would be joined rather than divided against each other. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Welcome back. Anybody else have any public comment? Okay. Do we adjourn? Because we're not having a meeting over at it's just ribbon cutting? Okay, so I move to adjourn.
Adjourn to the ribbon cutting.
To the ribbon cutting.
Yeah, Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Who said
Second.
Mrs. Mattson? Aye. Mrs. Blair?
Well, we all did. Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're over. I'm listening.
Okay, we all ready? Okay, welcome everybody. The sun is shining on Lorain County today. 5 years ago, our priorities on economic development were in the basement. Hey, but this year, I'll let you lower level. But this year, we have invested 10 times of that of 1997. This building represents the Lorain County Commissioners' commitment to improving the quality of life for all its citizens. And now our economic priorities are the envy of Northeast Ohio. Commissioner Vassy?
Thank you. That was great, Dave. I just want to thank you for the honor of your presence here today. And, you know, when I just took office, we had a 2-man department in economic development. Today we're up to 12 and a standalone building. And I think it's just wonderful. And I want you to know, too, the carpeting that you're going to walk on in there was provided by solid waste. It's 40% recycled material. And when you walk on that, you'll know that someone recycled in Lorain County. And hopefully we'll get more people to do that. But thank you again for being here, and it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for coming this morning. About 10 years ago, as Commissioner Vassy said, although it was never a 2-person economic development department, when I got here, it was a 1-person show, and we had a planning commission. And the idea was conceived that we ought to join those 2 departments together and form the Lorain County Community Development Department, which we did. And then we got Ron Twining, our Community Development Director, who's done a wonderful job, together with Jim Cortez, our County Administrator, and this wonderful staff that you see here. And we're doing great things for Lorain County. Thank you so much for coming this morning.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, we're politicians. We have lots to say. Okay, I'd like to thank a lot of you. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up today. Especially we have some elected officials here from Amherst. Our auditor, Diane Eswine, thank you for attending. Our state senator, Jeffrey Armbruster, thank you for attending. Elyria City Councilman, Paul Blevins, thank you for attending. And our Lorain County Sheriff, Sheriff Semay, thank you again for attending. And most of all, though, thank you all for attending here. Also, I'd like to thank the people that worked on this project. What's interesting here is this building, we purchased it within a year. We had the architect was Joseph Ferret and Chase Keichel from Joseph Ferret Associates, the architects. Steve Fox of S&M Fox Construction, restroom renovation, and ADA door opener. The Puffrey Roofing. Tom Murray and Amy Monak of Volvo's Office Plus and Office Space Design. Pat McCarthy, DuPont Flooring Systems, Carpet Installation. The Refrigeration Specialist, Inc. for the HVAC. And the Locks Garden Center for the plants. And the beauty of this is all this work, except for the recycled carpeting, but the labor was here, was all done with Lorain County people with Lorain County money. So that's fantastic. That's what this board's all about. And also who participated in putting this thing together, I'd like to thank Jim Cortez, our county administrator. I'd also like to thank Yvonne Newton, Pam Stevens, and Karen Davis. Also in our maintenance crew. These guys don't get recognized enough. Ralph Smagala and Dave Karpinski and their whole crew of Herb, Rick, Gordon, Joe, Zen, Don, Chad, James, Mike, Brian, Michael, and Thomas. They did a lot of work here to get the job done right. Also, these are other county people that helped us with Dan Billman and Marilyn Polisky, Ernie Smith, Karen Cleveland, Nancy Bryant, Tim Costco, Joey Opdyke, Boyd Weber, B. Howard Reynolds, and Jennifer Demick. They did a lot of work to make this thing happen today. Basically, I think it's time to cut the ribbon. Do we have our scissors? Oh, wait a minute. I got, and Marcia Dunfunk for Bromhill Township Clerk is here, too. So thank you. Okay, we're all... Ready? We all ready, guys? 1, 2, 3. There we go. We have lots of refreshments, videos, and people will be talking to you. Please come in and walk around and see what we have here. Thank you all again for coming. Come on in.